Yeah. Good evening, Community Board members, staff and members of the public. Welcome to this meeting of the Martinborough Community Board. This meeting will be being recorded and, subject to the recording being of suitable quality, will be made available on Council's YouTube channel via a link on Council's website. If you are speaking during the public forum and do not wish to be recorded, please advise me when it is your turn to speak. Health and safety. The emergency exits for this upper room are clearly indicated behind us, back there. If we need to evacuate the building, please use any of the emergency exits and head towards Texas Street and assemble in the playground area. Please remain at the assembly area until the building has been confirmed clear. Extraordinary business. We have had high public interest in the meeting this evening, so I move that we suspend Standing Order 14.14 and extend the public forum from 30 minutes to 60 minutes. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Nate. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
All those against, please say no. The motion is carried. I will also move that topic 2 of the Chairperson's report be moved forward for consideration before the Community Board minutes, given the public interest in the Innovating Streets program. We also have an update that has been tabled in response to Action 606 on Honeycomb Road under item 8.1, the action items report. Is there any other extraordinary business that needs to be added to the agenda? Okay. So are there any apologies for this meeting? Does anyone have any conflicts of interest to declare with regards to the items on tonight's agenda? Okay. For acknowledgements and tributes, does anyone have any acknowledgements or tributes? I'd like to start actually and recognise Matua Langi McGregor, who has passed away and leaves quite a big loss for us in our community. So, yeah, as a mana whenua and as a rangatira within our community.
Chair, I'd like to acknowledge the passing last month of Paul Cutfield, a long-time resident south-east of Martinborough. Has done a lot of work previously in regards to conservation of the Haurangi Forest Park with regards to trying to prevent 1080 drops out there or having deer repellent put on the 1080 as right being dropped in the interest of wildlife.
Any other tributes? Let's move on to public participation. As there is to be no public participation from the floor, we do actually have one spare speaking slot available for tonight. So if there is anyone who is not currently registered to speak that would like to take up this slot, which will be at 7:25, then please let us know now.
Yeah, Alex Wall, Martinborough, New Zealand. Bang me in there.
And Alex, what are you going to be speaking on?
Oh, geez, where do you want me to start? 14.28% rates increase. The alternatives to that. Removal of parking around the square from the
Thank you.
Which have been known to fail in other towns.
Thanks, Alex. You'll get your time.
Thank you, mate. Okay, well, as we only have 5 minutes for each speaker, including questions from ourselves, I'd like to remind members that it is questions only, and those questions should be as concise as possible to be fair to all of our speakers. Speakers, we will ring the bell at 4 minutes to let you know that you have 1 minute remaining, and then again when the time is up. Our first speaker this evening is Charlotte Harding on Winter Martinborough event for 2022.
Clearly, we're not Charlotte. We're Ellen and Dudley. Thanks for the opportunity to come and meet with you. Our intent is just to give you a heads up on some future planning that we're doing, and obviously to garnish your support for what we're doing. So I've got a handout here, an abstract of our marketing thing. There's 10 copies there, so you'll have a go at that. But the association has talked about for some time of opportunities to try and get a more balanced approach to our economy across the year. So we, as we all know, spring and summer, it's feast, and then we slowly start to famine down in the autumn, and then we get into the winter where the activity is very quiet, and then we get to August and it's somewhat quite flat. So we've been talking about opportunities of creating some events in Martinborough in the month of August, and we've landed on a winter in Martinborough, or what we have a working title, Martinborough Winterfest, for the month of October. August. Sorry, the month of August. Slightly ahead of myself, or behind myself. So the proposal would be that we use the square and the centre as the anchor points during the month of August, and we would run a range of themes across that month. It would be a combination of food, market, artisan, bringing our fixed retail community and our mobile sort of community pop-up stores, etc., blending those two together, and creating a series of themed events in each of the 4 weekends across that month. The intention is to collaborate with Destination Wairarapa in terms of our reach for marketing into Wellington, the Hawke's Bay, the Manawatu, and perhaps other places, and also to leverage the capability of the likes of Toast Martinborough and Rotary have had with the very successful events that they've run on these sorts of scales here. Clearly, we would work with council, hence the reason we've come to see our community board, and hopefully to get your support for this initiative. We are only in the light bulb planning stage. We're talking with a range of people. We've made an application to council for amenity use of the square and the Waihinga Centre. I've made an application to Wellington NZ into the Regional Events Fund to try and grab 100K to support the employment of an event manager at the right time, and to help with our marketing and collateral costs of pulling this together. And we'll obviously scout around to get some sponsorship as well. So we haven't gone down into the detail yet. Dudley's been involved in some discussions on what some of the higher level detail might be. But as I said at the start, the purpose of just to give you a heads up that this is something that we are planning to do, and we would really, value your support as our community board getting behind this to try and help our business community and our community at large. The opportunity would seem to bring visitor and local community together. Dudley, do you want to add to that?
Yeah, well, so the MBA, we're not an events planning, we're not an events coordinating company, but we see that, we hear from the community that there's a gap there, and it's the period that we're lacking in trade and custom, and it's a period that we think we can grow. I mean, if we look at Matariki now, a holiday next year, if we also look at Greytown and Carterton's winter festivals, they're amazing. Their Christmas, their the Carterton skate rink, it's impacting the Wairarapa, and we leverage off that, even though we didn't you know, we didn't have an event ourselves, we definitely felt the impact of the people in the community attending those events. So I don't think we need to add to that event. We can in our own way in different parts of the community, but we think we've then got the music festival in September. I'm rambling here because I know Michelle I'm talking with the music festival in September. We have Madcaps just before that. We've got the jazz. We've got music in Martinborough. And there is a little gap there between those two events that we could look at adding another kind of music event. So that kind of September could be music. August is that dead month, right? And so the 4 pillars we're thinking of is arts and culture. And whether that also, you know, we also bring into the dark sky, which is we could do night light shows, art shows, food and wine, and of course the olive and artisan products, cheese, gins, things like that. So we think if it's a month, we can kind of, you know, every weekend have an event planned for that period. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Run out of time.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you. And thanks for coming.
Next, we've got Stuart Campbell on the Innovating Streets Program and Survey.
Thank you to the people of Martinborough and the Community Board, and the Mayor, Council officers for attending and hearing me out. My name's Stuart Campbell, for those that don't know me. I've lived in Martinborough since '99, and this is the first time I've made a public submission to the Community Board. So late June, I made a complaint to the council, recently run survey wanting community input on the Innovating Streets project had insufficient options to encompass all community views. While this may only be a trial, it is important to actually ask if what is proposed meets what is wanted, as well as giving a list of proposed designs to choose from. Posing the question as pick which you prefer will not capture dissenters, only proponents of the proposal, therefore doesn't give a true representation of the community's wishes, and does not provide a reliable mandate to proceed with any redesign of the square. Subsequent to that, I've had to do a lot of research. So the Innovating Streets project required community consultation and engagement. And the work done by South Wairarapa has not, in my personal opinion, created a solution to the stated problem of pedestrian safety and improved utilisation of the square. Public consultations do not necessarily provide substantive proof of the community feelings. The input, the input from such meetings is subject to interpretation and recollection by the people recording the input. And so it is not as reliable as a poll. An opportunity existed recently to have asked the perfect question. Do you like any of the final designs, e.g., has the council done a good job, or should we go back to the drawing board? There was no option in the survey to say none of the above. You voted for the one you liked, or you had no voice at this final stage. My view of the consultation work undertaken by SWDC prior to the June 2021 survey was to get input from the community, an architect's brief, if you like. The June 2021 survey should then have been the presentation of the proposals for acceptance or rejection. In our case, it was only presented for acceptance. The consultation did not reach many people, some of whom are only now hearing about this and hopefully here tonight. I'm also hoping tonight's turnout will help support my view that more people would have liked a voice on this project but did not get one. Just at this point, I'd like to thank the staff and the Mayor of South Wairarapa. They've been very helpful this week in promptly getting me information well under the required 20 days so that I can do a bit of research, and that's got to be acknowledged. From the information supplied by SWDC February survey and submissions, there are some great ideas, and in brief time available, I've done a quick analysis of the survey and submissions. Here are my conclusions. From the PDF published in March, how often do people pass the square? 46% daily, 6% 3 to 4 times a week, 22% once per week. So approximately 70% of those surveyed pass through the square at least once per week, more than half of those daily. And of those polled, 70% did so by car. Unfortunately, the survey results did not contain how many of those parked in the square while accessing local business or the square itself. This would have helped identify if a change to current parking was warranted. From the attached submissions, I did a brief poll, or sorry, a brief analysis, and came up with 77% of people were in favour of change. 18% against, 5 were indecisive. So from this, I conclude SWDC has got support for changes to the square. In respect to car parking around the square, though, only 6% responded that they wanted parking reduced. 7% wanted more. Basically, that left I think it was, sorry, running out of time here. Yeah, okay. 87% basically wanted no change. The bulk of people polled wanted either no change or more parks, not less. Of the submissions wanting change to the square, 33% wanted seating and tables, 24% beautification of the square, 18% wanted more lights, 11% wanted speed reduction, 10% wanted more rubbish bins and dog poo bins around the square. 8% were in favour of more food trucks or pop-up vendors. 3% were in favour of improved signage around the square for tourists and visitors. 94% of the people that made submissions in favour of more seats or tables did not recommend less car parking. 24% of people wanting to beautify the square, either tree trimming, chessboards, baton courts, etc. Can I continue or should I stop?
That's fine.
Okay, the next high score of 18 went to lighting within the square, basically because they felt it was either too dark or unsafe for pedestrians. I believe the proposed designs do not reflect the feedback from the community, which were for seating, lighting within the existing square, general beautification of the square, and no reduction of car parks, slower around the square and more rubbish and dog poop bins. The analysis by SWDC certainly fits the LTSA funding needs, but seems to avoid the context of the received submissions. Irrespective of one's point of view of the analysis done by myself or the council, I still believe the council missed a vital consultation step with the community in the June survey by omitting an option to vote none of the above, and so send this trial back to the drawing board if the community so voted. The outcome I'm hoping for is a pause on the project to complete the community polling and improve future community communications and better surveys distributed in all media types and are advertised in public spaces, cafes, libraries, etc. So everybody gets a voice and the council can undertake projects with the public support and not their ire. I understand that halting this will not stop costs to date, but I also fear that not halting it could irreparably damage the square and the town's reputation and prove more costly. I'm asking the community board to undertake the following votes: to pass a motion of no confidence in the consultation and community engagement process for Innovating Streets, as it did not engage with enough of the community nor meet the needs of the feedback it did receive.
Yeah.
And secondly, to request council to immediately halt work on the project until it can show a majority of the community support the designs. Thank you. I can email that and my analysis.
Right, yeah, thank you, that'd be wonderful. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Stuart.
And we've got Louise Lister,
Could the speakers face the audience, please, so we can hear?
housing and zoning.
They need to face this way. Here, you can come this way.
During you speak it, and people come up and say.
No.
And speak to the people.
No, you've got to have, no, just tell. No.
Well, what we'll try to do is we'll get people to sit over on the corner there so we can.
Please, right, down basically.
Yeah, no.
Bring down. I ain't what the people like.
Rob, we'll give everybody a chance and we'll ask people to speak loudly so that everybody gets the opportunity to hear. We're also recording what has been said and people's reactions, so everyone's going to get the opportunity to view it later on. So we're doing as much as we can and we're going to do the best we can, okay? Well, thanks, Rob.
Sorry, you speak to us tonight on health.
I am here to speak to the community board. I hadn't expected to ever see an audience of this size here, but I do wish to say it's great to see democracy in action. Because that's what I'm doing here today. I've participated and I'm here to speak principally to the community board. So forgive me if I do to my back. I hope you can hear me.
Louise, take a seat and face us if you would like to.
Yeah,
So what I'd like to do is to say I participated in the long-term plan and the spatial plan because my interest and concern around the spatial plan was that all these options had been put out without any real analysis of growth. Well, what do you mean? Growth in housing, growth in population, growth in lifestyle properties, growth in business, growth in money. And it said, you know, we all said growth was good, but we have to be a little bit more analytical. But now, having been through that process, I better understand the entirety of the process and how important it is to get in early with your views. I now understand that the spatial plan threw up options for consultation. It didn't give us the information and the facts that we needed to make a sound decision, because that is a question of timing. So, vis-a-vis the spatial plan for Martinborough, you had feedback. You had an enormous amount of feedback and you've considered it. And I think that the community board and council actually need, and council officers need to be congratulated for that, provided we understand that that is only part of the process. And my coming here today is to say, please, councillors, please, community board, stay engaged, because this will affect our town and our lives and our children's lives and the wider community for the next 50 or 100 years. People didn't make those decisions 100 years ago. We have the opportunity to make them now, and we need to get engaged. So what I wish to say to councillors, please stay engaged. Please make sure that council officers are under a timetable, and that when they come back to you with a recommendation, that it is a recommendation with options. Do nothing, do everything, do the preferred approach. And under all of those options, investigate the facts. Because the first round on the spatial plan was about sentiment. It was about how did we feel about those options. Well, I didn't feel great about them because there are too many empty houses with not enough people living in them. And I wasn't very happy to hear 48 hectares of land being released for more lifestyle properties, which will remain empty. Now, I've got the facts that sit under that. I've done the research, I've got the facts. This is not the time for it. The time is simply to say, please stay engaged. We value the role that you guys play in our democracy and how hard and how difficult it is. I now better understand your process, but please don't give up, because I'm not giving up on this issue. I'll support any option that has a sound evidential basis for it. And I might also add that I'm coming to make the same presentation to the other two community boards, because I see this as a district-wide issue.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much, Louise.
And now I'd like to go to David Herschel talk on the last.
Sorry, Louise, does anyone have any questions for Louise? No.
No.
So you submitted?
I did.
Yes. And you got feedback from council on this submission?
Yes, but unfortunately, because of the nature of the process, the nub of my submission hasn't been picked up. But I'm not giving up on this issue, and I'm engaging.
Right. Thank you.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, guys.
We need to have a camera. Since we're recording, it's been moved, but it needs to come out to be facing.
It doesn't fit. Can't get done.
We're just going to move.
There's a camera on here.
There's a camera on the top.
Yeah.
So we just need to have the camera viewing the table and hopefully.
No, that's gone too.
Just go.
Get rid of that.
Yeah, the other
Just
side.
got to get rid of that. Just got to get rid of the other one.
Right, so next we've got Don McCreary on the Honeycomb Road.
Alright, I just got a bloody rant, but I'm Don McCreary, a Honeycomb landowner and ratepayer. I'm speaking on behalf of most in Honeycomb. I'm not a speech maker, so bear with me and listen up. Honeycomb rural ratepayers have been taken advantage of and not serviced adequately by South Wairarapa District Council. Firstly, the road slump. You'll be aware of a 5-hectare slump on the Honeycomb Road. This has moved significantly 2 years ago. There's been 2 summers since when proactive repair work on the wet areas of hill should have been carried out in order to limit costs and mitigate further damage. Lack of action from the District Council meant we lost our light vehicle road access for more than a week and still have no heavy traffic access, with most businesses refusing to come through a dangerous alternative route. Here's a recorded message. It'll go.
So, excuse me, Don, can you just summarise? So who was the transport company involved in that phone call?
So that was Rural Fuels, like they'd come through once and then they refused to come through again because it was so dangerous.
And that was via the Admiral Hill, Recce Road route?
Yeah, that's one. And I had another truck driver, I was lucky enough to get a truck to come through and pick up stock. And he reported that he had wheel marks going off over 100 metre bluff, and things to get there. And there's pools of water all over the road, basically like that, and aren't draining away things. That's the state of our road. I'm going to have to try and cut this short because I could just 10 minutes long or something. And we've just been, it's been neglected. So the effects are numerous and significant. So from that message, I meant to say truck access is essential to our businesses. No trucks, no business. It's that simple. The effects are numerous and significant. These are the obvious safety of our families, children and associated people put at risk. We had children walking to meet the school bus under pine trees on a 45-degree angle. Someone was going to get killed. There's direct costs of cartage, labour hours, vehicle running, etc. Indirect costs of not making decisions within our business. These mount up to 100K lost in our businesses pretty quickly. Animal welfare issues. Our time and staff stretched and unable to complete work due to the roading. In turn, property values are affected. They're just some of the issues we're facing. Nothing was done except metal patchwork on a 50-metre stretch of the road itself, and 30-kilometre signs been in place for 9 years, I'm told. I believe once we could pay our rates and we would be looked after for doing so. I now don't hold that same belief. I personally become involved with both of the council, the roading crew and treescape to try to see some progress. Eventually, we got the removal of the trees after phone calls and several site visits. And one time I went up there and they were taking 5 trees away and there was about 30 that needed to go. So it was another trip to the phone, swearing, getting it done. So, and eventually they got it done because I said someone would die. So, but yeah, just try and move along. Yeah, I've tried to be proactive and look forward to a solution. But without the process, we've had to turn to pointing out some of the shortfalls that have occurred. There's reports from meetings prior to last summer suggesting repair needed to alleviate the slump. This was after the ground had shown the signs and shifted 2 winters prior. Nothing was done, and now we've lost our road. There is money in the kitty, and I'm aware of that. So why is there no action? Do they want our road to slip away? So then they've got a clean slate, and then do they get emergency funding or something? Is that what happens, or and they would leave us high and dry for months? The professionals I talk to know what's needed, but have not been instructed or allowed to carry out their work by the council. We had no communication. Now we receive some, thankfully. However, telling us you are monitoring the slip or planning is as good as doing nothing. This is what I was able to draw up on a farm mapping program myself, wherever it is. It's been took me one morning and emailed to the council, and it's better than anything I've seen on the area from a farmer in a morning's work. What a joke. I see a report submitted in the final hour prior to this meeting to save face to some extent. This also has serious shortfall in facts and facts, timings and actions required. So I'll just talk about the slump, but there is other issues that we're facing that are neglecting the Honeycomb district as well. But hopefully I'll get a chance to say that in a minute too. But yeah, basically, like what do we got to do to get our road touched? So it's this massive 5 hectare slump, and so if this table is the slump, there's the roads through the middle. They've just chucked a little bit of metal down each time. The whole slip is slumping. As a farmer, I know for a track I get fixed up, you'd be up there in the summer and you'd be diverting the water away. That's the problem and stuff. But you watch them just do nothing, and it just like I feel like rigging a bulldozer and getting them up there. It's not our land, but I could probably talk to the landowner, strike up a deal, and be able to do that. That's their job. Why should I? Why do we have to get involved? It's yeah, I don't know. It's crazy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, next.
You've already done.
Yeah. So next is Jane Cameron, also on the Honeycomb post.
Hi. Look, I probably don't need to say too much more, except thank you for giving us the opportunity to speak. And also thank you to Don for speaking on behalf of the Honeycomb community. I endorse everything you said. I'd like to reinforce to everyone one point that Don made. Truck access is essential to our businesses. No trucks, no business. It's that simple. I'm feeling let down that over the years, our rural roads have been left to deteriorate to the current shameful conditions. This recent report outlines a more proactive approach to the upkeep and management of our road. So let's hope we don't find ourselves dealing with this situation again. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Jane. And next we've got Taylor. Moriori.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for giving me this opportunity. I'll be kind of short and sweet. Can
you just speak up, please, Taylor?
Oh, yeah, of course. I'm Taylor. I'm the 570 food truck owner. Basically, I'm here to say about the painting on the road and how it affects our food truck businesses. We've got you guys have 4 hook license spots that you've got around the square. And with this painting on the road, it affects us as now we only have 3. We've been operating for 2.5 months now. In the first month of operating in summer, we found that families were coming down with kids, couples coming down and eating, cyclists stopping by, enjoying the atmosphere. And that was created from our food truck, not from painting in the road. Basically, my question is, what are we going to do for businesses like mine when we only have limited opportunities in terms of operating our businesses due to parking? And yeah, cheers for the opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that, Taylor. Next we've got Brett Dumbledon on the Ruakokatuna Road.
There you go. There you go.
I just want to thank the council and the board for this opportunity. I won't take up much of your time. My name is Brett Dumbledon. I live out the Ruakokatuna Valley, and as the council is on the board, we've got aware we've been trying to get some action on the road. It's really picking up on the same point made by the speakers on the Hinakura Road. The road's been left to deteriorate quite badly, and we're naturally disappointed with the fact that the council didn't deem it desirable to take, well, in fact, really cancelled the program for the continuation of sealing. So I just really want to put before the board the fact that we're not going to go away and sound the board out to see what interest you have in helping us further our quest for upgrading the roads, proper maintenance and the continuation of sealing. Is this an appropriate form to?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, this is the right place to bring it to, so we can use it.
So what information would you like to us to supply? I mean, our submissions to the long-term plan are still on record. Is there anything else you need that would help you?
With
to help you,
we already support rural roads and
that's good.
Further investment, maintenance, and sealing. So they were all part of our long-term plan submission here as well.
Well, as I say,
sorry, and Brett, information, you can continue to bring information to the community board. We can move that up to and speak to the Asset and Services Committee. The community board came along yesterday to the Asset and Services Committee meeting and made submissions. So we're able to do that and then get that right off into the council table.
Okay. Thank you, board. As I say, we will continue to put pressure on. So, yeah, okay. Thank you, Brent.
Sorry,
just quickly. So when was the last time you had a grader out there?
Well, the grader arrived and did part of the road about a week, 2 weeks ago, but it only does part of the road, then it disappears.
Do they just grade or do they put metal on? Or?
Well, they've actually put some metal on just recently. I think part of it because of the noise we've been making, we have had a bit of action out there recently. There's been a bit of gravel street around and some more vegetation's been trimmed, which previously hadn't been done. But
and the water tables?
They're a mess.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes I feel that somehow our problem is not the Hinakura Road is obviously a real urgent problem. Our concern is that our road is the access to increasingly well-used recreational and tourism facilities out there. So you get the city people coming out there and they just can't handle the conditions. And we get half a dozen cars running off the road every year, which is not only a danger to them, but, you know, the local community, and it's a hazard to local residents as well. I know there was some feeling that we were a bunch of lifestylers looking for city grade roads. That's just not true. I mean, I lived out there for 12, 15 years and I know the road, but it's really, you know, for the sake of other people, for the sake of the reputation of the Wairarapa is a safe and welcoming place.
So we'll keep pushing for you, Rick, and for all the rural roads in the Martinborough.
That's right, but it's not just us. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Next, we've got Christine Webley talking about the transfer station.
Well, I slightly lied there. That was just one of my three subjects. I had to say something for evening, ladies and gentlemen. So I've got three things. So rubbish, recollections, and bouquets. So I'll just start. So firstly, on rubbish, what's one of my pet subjects, or rubbish recycling, waste and things. So I don't know if anybody's aware that Featherston, led by Guy Walker, have set up on Boundary Road I'm not sure quite how to pronounce that, but a resource centre, which was basically reusing, upcycling items that you know, are too good to take to landfill. So you can take your things along there and they will either accept or reject them, excluding clothes, books and things, but you know, furniture, outdoor, anything like that. And then people can go along on a Wednesday, Saturday or Monday and purchase things. A perfectly usable chair, for example, for $9. It saves it going to the transfer station. Now that's a community-led setup, but I'd like to see something supported by the council set up here in Martinborough, because we have the transfer station, either at the transfer station or at a point between town and the transfer station, where people can drop off their items, subject to being accepted as being usable, and then sold, resold, or transferred to Featherston. So the action item, basically I'd like your support to engage with the council, because I've tried and they were too busy. So 1.5. So just on the rural roading, I'd just like to say, as president of Ruakokatuna Road, I actually don't have any firm, you know, whether it's resealed or not, but it's a matter of principle, process and accuracy, because a group did put in a submission in 2019 and had a letter back from the corporate services manager, I believe, saying that we propose to reseal that road in stages over 3 years. So it was not a gentleman's agreement that was misunderstood. So just putting that on record. As far as Innovating Streets go, I was aware of the project just because I follow a lot of what the council do and I monitor the Facebook page and website. So I saw this on the agenda to the council meeting in October where it was put forward. And at the time, I didn't have any real concerns. The 20,000 of ratepayer money, I guess, could have been better spent on infrastructure, roading, footpaths. Somebody else, when I said, well, 180,000 comes from the NZTA, and a woman behind me at Kitchener said, yes, but that's somebody else's money. That's taxpayers' money. So just because it's free and there's a 28 million past pocket of money there for what to apply to, I don't necessarily believe that that's right, that we take that free money.
No money is free.
No, nothing's free in this world, that's right.
Right.
Right. And it's also not free because looking at the submission that was put to NZTA to the project, 195 hours of South Roper Council, of that 195, 115 were staff. So a comms manager, a roading manager, a GM partnerships and operations, and a CEO, as well as being project led by our mayor. So there is a cost, you know, that time is a cost as well. So to say that there is no cost for is not true. So, and finally, a bouquet. I've just got to make sure I get this one right. So functionality, the definition of functionality, the quality of being suited to serve a purpose well. So to the Martinborough Community Board, I'd say a bouquet to you. Keep asking the tough questions, ensure that you receive the full answer, explanation, and advocating on behalf of the community who elected you. I think the turnout tonight, by the number of speakers, the audience, and the range of subjects, is a true testament to your functionality in any future governance reviews. So thank you. Any questions?
Yeah, one have any questions? No. Thank you, Christine. Next up, we've got Clayton and Hartnell on roading.
Hi everyone, I'm Clayton Hartnell. I'm a rate player in South Road District Council. I live in Honeycomb, and I'm just want to know about the road. What actually is done with the road out there? So it's talking open, obviously, to the road. The engineer in here comes out and looks at it. I don't know what he says because it never gets, nothing ever gets done. And bridges, we've got a bridge out there that's been hit by a digger or something, smashed the side of the bridge. There's a bridge out Pontyre, the same, that's been smashed by a logging truck, and nothing's been done to it. And to me, that's all safety issues. And last year I got stopped from Hill. The truck driver said to me, because I used to drive down the coast, well, it's absolutely, there's no vision anywhere down there with the vegetation over the road. It's like that from right to Pope's Head. And I know once there's a tree across the road at Pope's Head, and I know that Sam Welsh, he cleared that. And I know that my wife, and Julie Sutherland, they spend quite a lot of their time clearing the road coming into town with trees. Someone cuts them, but yeah, they got before they go to school, they got to cut the trees. And since this roading issues there, they've metal from Wainua Roost, Middle Spur to Summer Hill. I mean, there's one person who lives at Summer Hill, and there was nothing wrong with that part of the road. But from Murray through to Hinderburg Hall, it's just they graded it and just turned it into slosh. Now it's all rough and bumpy. Yeah, so I don't know how the roading works. You know, we've got engineers in here. And if you went back into the 60s and 70s, we had an engineer here, Bill Taylor, and he used to build the roads, and you can see they were all engineered and they were all built. And we had a bridge builder that used to build bridges, and he would build 2 bridges a year around the way. But now we get no bridges, no roading, and the grading is just, they just grade false water tables. Nothing's ever cleaned out to the water table. And when they do metal it, the grader, it's such a big grader, it just grades it all off the road again into our fences.
Can I just add to that is, can you ask if, like, I think there's one guy that is overseeing the roading, like, yeah. sorry, Clayton.
No.
Like, is it?
Sorry, if I can just, sorry, Clayton.
Yeah.
Sorry for that.
Sorry, go ahead, finish. You're right.
No, I just would like to know what the process is, because you'll go out there one day and then there's bits of dark there, someone comes and paints white and because it needs a bit of blacktop in it. They'll go down the hill and then Bolton Hogan will send out a little toy truck with about 2 wheelbarrows of blacktop. They only ever do the 3 or 4 holes and they leave the rest. And they never get done to it, and then it washes away, and then next year it gets marked again, slips.
We do have, we have been presented with some information on the Honeycomb Road and we'll receive an update on that.
Yeah, no, but I'm just more concerned with the road. How is the road? I mean, like we've got engineers here that don't engineer it, and then they just get consultants in to do the job. And then they give the job to Fulton Hogan and they don't do it. Have they got some sort of contract? Have they got to grade the road a certain amount of times? Or?
So I think what we'll do, Clayton, is we can ask the questions to the council officers to find out what perhaps the routine or the schedule is for the inspections. I know that we see it in the officers' reports that come through to the community board. We don't have an officers' report for tonight's meeting, but certainly we get told that so many road or so many kilometres have been inspected, so many bridges have been inspected. But we can certainly go back and ask those more detailed questions about what roads or what bridges and the reasons why things are the way they are.
Yeah.
Is that right?
And I would put there with an insurance claim.
Yeah, well, I mean, while we could discuss it later on and actions from, but I think it might be a good idea to invite Rumahanga Roads to come and talk to the community board and address all those issues and actually answer them in person.
So Ruma, so I think what Mayor Alex is speaking about is Rumahanga Roads is the organisation which looks after the roading for the South Wairarapa District Council and the Carlton District Council in a shared services agreement. And so Rumahanga Roads, from what I understand, contracts to Fulton Hogan for the work to be done. So what, as a community board, we will ask that Rumahanga Roads comes to present to us, and we can raise issues directly with them at a community board meeting, or perhaps even a workshop.
Yep. I think community board is a good idea.
Just above the hill from Dom's, big concrete culvert that you put in Headwood to stop mud and stuff going in it. 2-3 years ago, it slipped over there. All the boards that opened up, it's never been touched. Like I say, when my wife and that, they cleared the trees, they cut it back to there. Fulton Hogan come out, cut it back to the white line, put 2 cones there. Or half the time they don't even do it. They just come and put cones where the white and that they've already cleared them. Right? They just put 2 cones there and go back there. Thank you.
Thanks very much. Thank you very much, Clayton. We've got Clem Beck next on Innovating Street.
Good evening, Mayor, councillors, community board members, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Clem Beck. I'm a resident of Martinborough. I have been here for 11 years and love the place. I read a report in the paper this morning that alleged that the mayor said, "I'm not against progress, but I am in favour of the process," or words to that effect. I might have misquoted you slightly, but I'm here for that, to express my concern about that in regard to the innovative streets. Firstly, I'd like to congratulate the council on actually getting the grant. However, the brickbat comes from probably what I perceive, or the perception I have, in line with the recent survey I've been asked to complete, of the process or lack of it in communicating with the community as to what they want. I'd like to ask the community board, how involved have you been in this process? Because it's my understanding that you were put forward as an integral part of the application.
In the application form.
We've been made aware of that as well. However, we've been asking for the project team or to speak at our table for a number of meetings now. Yeah.
Basically, I haven't had any input.
They haven't come to us.
Right.
To any of the community board members that I'm aware of, and yeah.
Because an integral part, I understand, of the whole process is the involvement of the community boards as part of the democracy process that we now have in place. And it's obviously that there has been a breakdown in that respect. I also worry when I see reports coming out, which are on the website but nowhere else, on the 8th of February, which gives you notice of meetings that have been held previously, which I never ever saw any notification for, and also gives you 4 days from the 8th of February to the 12th of February to submit alternative ideas. Now, I would argue that 4 days is hardly enough, and also too, if I can remember rightly, a weekend comes in the middle. However, I understand the council received something in excess of 150 suggestions. I've yet to find them. We are then presented with a scheme that, well, to be honest, I feel is an abuse of the town, its current and its history, because the square and the 8 streets coming off it are actually designated a reserve. And you cannot change anything about it without reference to the historical nature of the town and the flavour of Martinborough. Now, I would allege that pallets weren't invented in the town they laid out the square. Painting of the roads, as one resident said to me as she looked at them starting to do it or starting to lay it out, I've been here 75 years and they've never painted the streets yet. Why are they starting now? So from that point of view, I question the validity of it. I'd also like to make reference to Taylor and his food truck. I had incident or occasion recently to go to the community board to talk to them about events that happened in the square of a disturbing nature. So I supported Taylor's food truck one night and had a hamburger. Also there were the police keeping an eye on things. My disappointment was that the square is one dark, dingy hole. 4 lights in the corner of the square are not going. Bird droppings and birds' nests fall out of it. And it is dark as, well, one can use one's imagination, but as far as street safety goes, it does not comply. On questioning it about it, I get dark skies. For heaven's sake, people, if you put a shadow on top of a light, it will shine down, not up. It doesn't take much imagination. And when it comes to food trucks, why not address the issue, put them in the square, make it an event, and not have this mishmash that we've got. I think that's my time.
Carry on.
Sorry. I'd like to leave you with a quote. I've changed one word in this twice. What the council has presented to us is an option. Unfortunately, no other options have been considered or discussed. The action of the council in this process has been very poor. There has been no consultation, little engagement, and the solution, singular, appears to have been predetermined. That was, Alex, on the 2nd of July 21, in response to the government's attempt to put the water scheme on us.
Thank you very much for the explanation, Thompson.
Can I ask a question? How much is this grant the government is actually giving free money that is paid by us? How much is this grant worth? Scotty, we've still got 2 speakers to go. Okay. So
We will be discussing it.
We will be discussing it. So if you hang around, Scotty, you'll be able to hear the further discussions.
Can I hear the amount of the free grant, the free money they give out?
We'll raise it then.
Okay, thank you.
So next we've got John Thompson.
My name's John Thompson. I'm a Martinborough resident, and I want to talk about the supposedly inappropriately named Innovating streets. The square is Martinborough, and I have serious concerns about this project and even its motivation. I know I've only got a few minutes to speak. The clock starts now, so I'll sort of talk in bullet points to try and get through everything. The consultation process has been very manipulated. For example, 3 options, no 4th option, don't bugger up the square. Not an option. The very deliberate use of the children of Martinborough as a human shield is despicable. You can't criticise children's artwork without appearing to be a total prat. I don't understand the funding model. I don't understand how it works. I can't believe that we're having this conversation about spending a whole lot of money on dangerous paint on a road, and you can't fix a road to our vital rural. Back and quick, the move. The square is a designated historic precinct. This requires businesses to work within very, very tight restraints on their building, colours and signage. And this comes at a considerable cost to business owners on the square. How does this graffiti comply with any of the plan? It doesn't. You have a historic precinct, it doesn't comply. The square is a very special place, an Anzac memorial. It's where we come to reflect on the enormous sacrifices made by our people in the name of freedom and democracy. This proposal does not improve road safety. It's especially distracting for visitors, and the paint is dangerous for bikes and motorbikes. You say it's temporary. Please confirm that if we can't stop it right now, when can we stop it? And when will we have the opportunity to vote in a totally non-manipulative way to get our square back and return it to how it is? We have to ask the residents of Island Bay, of whom 90% oppose the cycleway. It's still there. Can you assure us of the complete removal at the end of this unfortunate scheme? Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much for that, John. Next up, we've got Alex, who's going to start with rates. And
He's going to tear the glass off. Yes.
you've got 4 minutes. Well, you've got 4 minutes if you want to. 5 minutes.
Look, I obviously wasn't intending to speak tonight. I just thought I'd come along and hear what people had to say. I'm actually quite disturbed by what I am hearing, because if you look at all the people behind me, there's a lot of problems in the room. And I kind of feel like this is a litmus test of how well the council's performing. And if the council's doing a good job, we shouldn't be having the amount of problems that we've got. And if this was a performance appraisal, where does the council sit on that scale of the performance appraisal? Because it sounds like they're being woefully inadequate, not listening, not consulting, pressing things ahead when they shouldn't be. And I feel sad about that as a ratepayer and a resident here. It's not the community we should be living in. We shouldn't be dealing with these amount of problems. Honeycomb Road, someone said the biggest thing there was maybe, the loss of income or farming, all these things. But the biggest thing there is that it might actually take somebody to have a serious accident or a death before it actually gets fixed. Have a think about that for a minute. So I can tell you right now, you don't want that on your conscience. And yet it's right there. It's right there. I actually feel quite sad by what I've heard tonight across the board. Innovative streets. I thought Stuart Campbell, wherever he's gone, I thought you said it really well. Summed up everything. A lot of people did. On consultation, someone mentioned it, but I think the council have got consultation around the wrong way, and they have done for a number of years. We were talking about this 3 years ago, or a couple of years ago at the elections. We were talking about it 3 years before then. What is consultation? Because consultation seems to be, we'll put out something that we want to do as a council, which is maybe divvying up all these sectors in the community and saying, oh, you can build, high rises here in the centre of town, And then we'll get the community to consult back to us about what it means. Well, that's not consultation. Innovative streets. Oh yeah, that is what we're doing. Here are the 3 options. Which one do you want? That's not consultation. Why don't you try something different as a council and say, tell us what you want us to do. And then you run off, spend all that time, energy, money, delivering the things that the community want. That's what Carlton did. They said to the ratepayers, what are the 3 most important things you want? And they got, we want more car parking in town. We want the 5 trail project or whatever is going to happen, which is going to link up all the towns for walking. They gave clear direction. And so the council said, great, Greg said, great, we'll head off and go and start and work on those things. I don't understand why we have the amount of problems that we've got here, that these people behind me here are voicing so clearly. And I think as a community board, I just want to say how much these people do support you, and they want you to ask these councillors and the mayor and the people in council these tough questions, because it's not right. And these people are telling you it's not right. And the solutions are there. And this 14.28% rates increase, plus rubbish bags going from $1 to $3. What are the other options other than putting on the ratepayers? Because if I said to you, hey, you know what, that extra money is going to come out of council wages. All the All Blacks and the rugby players took a percentage pay cut to get through COVID. So if I said, hey, that's coming out of your back pocket, not ours, do you think the council would want to do it? And if they don't want to do it, why do they think we want to do it? We just rejected a 15% targeted rate, you know, not so long ago. Why would we want to accept the 14.28% increase? What are the other options? And if you've got aged people in the community, how's that going to affect their spending? Suddenly when you're taking an extra chunk out of it. What are the other options for not having a 14.28% rates increase? I kind of feel the council at times willy-nilly spends this money or has these ideas, beautification stuff like the square stuff. Let's get back to basics. What's happening with our water? Where's the 3rd bore that's meant to be being done? All these pipes that are going in, Pahia Tua, you know, they're replacing their whole piping system in town, all around the place, because they've decided, hey, it's time to do it. So at what point in our future do we replace the pipes? Because if we keep putting it off, we'll keep not doing it, we'll keep looking over here at doing this, that or the other. Things like Honeycomb Road, these pipes. What point do these pipes get done then? Is it 10 years from now, 20 years from now? Because it's going to be someone else's problem. I'm out of time, but I just encourage you guys to keep pressing this council.
Carry on, you're doing a good job.
Yeah,
Thanks, Alex.
Well, getting Honeycomb to pay more rates anyway.
Thanks, everyone.
So the matters that have been raised on the Innovating Streets will be discussed under topic 2 of the Chair's report. And the matters raised on Honeycomb Road will be discussed under action item 606 of the action items report. Are there any other actions arising, are there any actions arising from other matters that were raised by our speakers?
Actually,
yeah,
but could I just, there was one other thing that was also raised that Christine Webley actually raised with regards to the transfer station and what Featherston's doing on Boundary Road. You know, perhaps that could be something that could approach the, you know, let's have the council have a look at and see if it's a possibility to offer somewhere like that for?
Yeah, so, I mean, that's a private initiative done in conjunction with the Featherston Community Owned Charity.
Who's that? Is that
so which, and so certainly a private initiative could be done, and then certainly bringing it to council's attention to see if there is land available for them to occupy to run the initiative is fantastic.
So it would need to be a private rather than.
Well, no, that's up to discussion. I would think if the council has an appetite to.
In the same way, would they have to speak up maybe?
Yeah.
The same way that you have to bring it to council attention to see whether there's an appetite to run a commercial recycling centre, but hey, we'll bring it up by all means.
That'll be cool.
So,
thank you.
Recommendation.
Probably through assets and services.
Yeah, but you could bring it to the next council meeting.
Yep. Okay, well, council meeting is for the next session.
Okay, yep, can you present?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, cool. Oh, yes.
Right, so we've just been so what I had said was, were there any actions other than the Innovating Streets or the Honeycomb Road that have been raised by our speakers this evening that we wanted to ensure we have recommendations beside? So the transfer station information that Christine has been able to provide, we'll find out some more information about that and take it to this next council meeting. Yeah, see what the evidence like.
Through me, Madam Chair, the also be the Martinborough Fest.
Yes.
Talk about, because that's not.
Yep.
Okay, so were there any? Do that?
I just think of, yeah, the Martinborough Winterfest sounds like a great idea, and if they, to be able to just offer support.
Yeah.
I think if we go back to the business association about those plans and their proposal, just in request that they keep us in the loop. They have a business association meeting coming up shortly, and once they've had that meeting and they've had further discussions.
So we can write a letter of support to the business association.
Yes, and ask them to keep us in the loop.
Yeah.
Communicate with us.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's do that promptly, and they can attach that to their application for the Wellington NZ events funding. I think that'd be useful. There'll be certainly one from council as well.
Okay. Was there anything else?
Yeah, I've got one. How many hawker are there enough hawker licenses raised by Taylor with regards to hawker licenses? Does the council do we have enough hawker spots around the square, for the food trucks that are coming up, which are fantastic? Yeah, that's a good question to ask.
That's what Taylor was saying, was that there was, and then
there was 4.
There's not sufficient now.
Yeah.
With the Innovating Streets going forward. So we'll move on to the Innovating.
The other thing would be knowing how many people actually use their bookings license in Martinborough, and whether they're all on the same day that they're in the square. That would be the only time there wouldn't be enough parks. If there's more than three people want to use those spots at the time.
Yeah. Just making sure that we've got enough. That's appropriate.
Yeah.
I certainly think that within, if there's one hawker space disappearing as a result of Innovating Streets, perhaps we need to go back to council and see if we can replace that somewhere else in the square.
Just for your information, there are 4 hawker sites on different corners on the square. We've never had a situation in the time that Taylor's been operating where all 4 have ever been utilised by hawkers. So there is capacity for people to actually go. It's just that one particular location isn't now available. So we've not got a supply problem.
Right.
Yeah.
However, do we have a supply problem if those other 3 spots that are available for hawker licences are occupied by parked vehicles when Taylor or the other food truck arrives to set up? Do we have an issue there or then?
Not that I'm aware of, but I'll check out because I mean currently that's.
I like to say something else.
No.
Sorry. Hang on, all I can say again, I've been just standing outside and still on a meet outside the pop-up shop. I watch all these customers, people come into town, they park in the square to get their bikes off this.
Scotty, I'm really sorry, I'm going to have to stop you. No. At the beginning of the meeting, we had one spot available.
They get their bikes off their bikes off the back, they leave their car.
Unfortunately, we are going to have to continue with the meeting. I do understand what you're saying, Scotty.
So presently those hawker licenses are available in the square at the moment?
Yes.
Could we perhaps look at having hawker license outside the square? Like down somewhere else? Like keep those, but then basically, like Toast Martinborough where it's the town's closed, the hawker, because you wouldn't have hawkers in there at that stage. Those people could set up down Jellicoe Street or something.
It'd be a good conversation. It'd be a good conversation to have with the Martinborough Business Association. Often the objection is having a hawker in front of a particular business.
Yeah.
So we just need to be careful about making sure that they're in the right location. The reason they're in the square is because they're not proximate to an immediate business.
Yeah,
right, okay.
I think one of the issues is if we've taken out all these parking spaces and cars are in those parking spaces, then there isn't anywhere for the hawkers to set up.
Yeah, so that's the biggest concern.
So I think it's not so much can they set up, it's just that if residents or visitors are parking in those spaces, then there is nowhere for them to operate from. So is there an option of having that, the walkers license things spread out a little more so that they can use maybe the outside of the square rather than the.
We can certainly investigate that, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, good point, Cam.
What I'm saying, it's a really good conversation to have with the business association. Because they're the ones that on balance have to sort of actually work out,
but not in the square. That's us.
Not the square.
That's us. Yes.
If you change it the other side, from the front of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it's access to power and and those types of things. So yeah. So always keen to help.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's move on then. So we're now considering topic 2 from the chairperson's report, the Innovating Streets and Town Road Safety on pages 20 to 21 of our agenda. Do I have a mover to receive the report? Thank you, Adrian. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Nathan. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, please say no. The motion is carried. Okay, so in the update I have on that is that the community board would like council officers to advise us of their progress, to recommend to the Assets and Services Committee road safety investigations we discussed at our 27th 2021 meeting. So these are the sites within Martinborough which we believe have safety issues that were reported at our last meetings. One was a temporary low sitting roundabout at the junction of State Highway 53, Kitchener Street and Princess Street, like the one seen in Burrow and photos provided by Aidan Ellens in the presentation at our meeting on 29th of April 2021. These are low enough for emergency services to drive over the top of them as a temporary initiative. Two was temporary coloured cat's eyes on both sides of the pedestrian crossing on Jellicoe Street at the footpath beside Venice Street in the 50 metres before the crossing, or as advised best by council officers. This is urgent. Even some fluorescent paint or something to slow the cars down at this crossing would be very, very grateful for at this stage. Temporary coloured cat's eyes or speed bumps on both sides of the pedestrian crossing outside the school on Dublin Street, the heavy traffic bypass. 4, can officers please investigate and advise us on options to slow traffic on Roberts Road / street outside the kindergarten where young children pop out onto the road. Can officers, number 5, can officers please investigate and advise us on an option for a cycle foot pathway along Ruatanga Road from the corner of Princess Street to Te Kairanga Vineyard. And then can the Martinborough Community Board please be updated on the Innovating Street project, which council is running in Martinborough at Soldiers Memorial Square.
Like some comment? Okay, so first of all, I'd like to congratulate the Community Board on the excellent presentation for the Assets and Services Committee. Council has accepted the proposals to investigate, and we're currently adding it to our work program to investigate. So thank you. Yeah, they're constructive, they're helpful, and they're useful initiatives. Obviously, they have to stand in the queue with, and be weighed up against all the other kind of priorities the council currently has in its road safety project across the whole district. So it's one of those things that we have to work out how to do on balance. But these are really helpful, and we will treat them seriously and investigate them. Innovating streets. In terms of update, because of the concern that have been raised around the level of consultation, we provided you with a report on the level of consultation the council actually has undertaken on this. And I'd recommend to the Community Board that they share that with members of the community. Because
sorry, what was that you would like us to share?
That's from Shield.
Oh, the one from today.
Yes, so we provided the Community Board has a record of all the community of consultation and engagement that's actually gone over 12 months. You can argue about the adequacy of that or not. In my view, it is comprehensive. It is one of those things where, as you get closer to the event and people realise things are happening, often it's difficult to look back and say, actually, there was this opportunity then, but it really wasn't on my radar. So we ran drop-in centres. We changed some of the design options based on the feedback that people gave us. Initially, the proposal was to do works on the front side of Cool Change, the Martinborough side of the town. Based on the feedback we got from the community, we moved the location to the other side of town. So we've acted on the feedback that we've received from the community on these things. It is difficult. The objective that we're trying to achieve here is we're experiencing, and it's a good thing, because of post-COVID, our town is pumping. We are getting more visitors, we're getting more pedestrian people using the square, being part of the town. We're having more cycling. We want to promote Green Jersey and the other companies that are encouraging people to. Currently, people tend to avoid the square when they're cycling rather than go through it. In part because of the traffic movements and the speed of cars going through it, they tend to go around the outside rather than through the center.
Where is this information coming from?
You asked for an update.
Oh, sorry.
So Mel, you asked. Look, excuse me. The chair asked for an update on.
Oh, sorry, on the Innovating
Street. So I'm providing that update. So if that's okay, may I continue? Yeah, thank you. So the issue that we have is trying to make sure that we have a safe experience for people in and around our square. We can see an emerging road safety issue. And like many people have commented, it shouldn't take a death to promote a response to a situation. The most likely place where serious injury or death will occur is in a transaction between a pedestrian, a cyclist, and a vehicle. And so first of all, we welcome the suggestions that the community board has put, because they are based around pedestrian concerns. Same thing with innovating streets. So the traditional approach with councils is that you go and get an engineer and you design a solution, and then you go out on paper to community and say, here's a solution we are looking to put in place as a hardwired solution, and then allow the community to respond to it. This is a totally different approach. What we're trying to do is use design engineering rather than hard engineering, which is to try and trial different options that will slow down traffic and encourage safety for people to walk and cycle and enjoy the square in a different way. So it is about road safety, and that's the primary thing that we're focusing on here. And so this is a well-established, as I said, it's a design engineering, it's a trial, which is the most important thing. As the trial progresses, the next steps are that we will be we want regular feedback about the design, what tweaks we can do, what we can change, and to answer the question about will it be removed at the end of the trial? Absolutely. And so this is a trial to see what solutions could work in terms of slowing traffic, encouraging pedestrian movements. We've baselined the speed of vehicles in and around the square. We've made observatory evidence around how people travel. For instance, people don't use the pedestrian crossings. They tend to travel from the square in diagonals or walk straight across the road. So we've started with that baseline information. We're providing monitoring back to the community on what the change in behaviour is around the square in terms of things like speed and pedestrian movement and cycling movement. We will respond to any suggestions that people make that would improve the layout and the opportunity, and we'll do that promptly. And of course, at the end of the trial, it will be removed. So that's the update, Madam Chair.
Okay, can I just ask though, Kerry, with this taking place in a space in town where there has never been an accident, if an accident occurs, what would it be removed? Would it be assessed? Would it be like what would happen then if there was an accident?
From narrowing.
From narrowing.
Absolutely. If it creates this unsafer environment, of course it'd be removed.
Okay.
But that's part of the design that we've done, and that's one of the reasons for taking out some of the car parks. It's actually to remove any potential for accidents, not because of the innovating streets, but it's because we want to trial different sight lines around our pedestrian crossings that we have now. Because the pedestrian crossings that we have are obscured by the particular parking areas of the end of the two corners. So you can't actually see as you turn around. So basically we're trying to see what we can do to actually improve the safety around the square before we go into the traditional method of actually proposing a hardwired engineering solution.
Can I just ask something that was raised, because I'm assuming that this is part of, discussing some of the things that were raised, and it is here. One of the things that was brought up was the fact of that the Martinborough Community Board was going to be fully involved in this process.
Actually, I will apologise. I think that we could have done that better. So at the very first drop-in sessions, all the Martinborough Community Board were invited and did participate. So we assumed an assumption is a dangerous thing. So we true. We have reported. We've reported via the asset management services, council papers, those types of things. But we assume the engagement was, and thank you. You participated at our drop-in sessions. You participated in feedback, and so yes, we could have done that better. I apologise.
I mean, the primary thing was that first meeting that we went to in February was the first we were hearing, and in that meeting in February, we were told that it was it was specific for that project. There was never any undertaking around safety in Martinborough that was discussed with the Martinborough Community Board, who are the elected members in this town to represent our community, because we do know where the safety issues are. So that was the misstep, I think.
So there's two different things. I mean, the Innovating Streets is a very specific project. So yes, there are a range of safety issues we can do, but it's not a substitution. Our application was based around the square, right? That was, and if we hadn't applied, we wouldn't have got funding for anything else, right? The Innovating Streets project is now wound up. There's no more funding, and so unfortunately, much as we like to do something in Greytown and Featherston as well, we're not able to do that. That's the area where the gold was.
So you're talking about the consultation, Harry, and the information that came out last night from council about the consultation engagement process. It's got a statement in here that consultation does not mean decision-making from those consulted. And then yesterday, when we sat here at the Asset and Services Committee meeting, we heard from Waka Kotahi NZTA when they were talking about the changes on the corridor, State Highway 2 corridor, Featherston through to Mass, and they were saying how they were going out for consultation. They stated that consultation is not a vote. So back on the 18th of October last year, when an officer's report went to council with the application for the Innovating Streets program to Waka Kotahi, it had a whole lot of information in there, and it said that, now I don't know where Scotty is, but for the record, the South Warwick District Council was putting in or submitted $19,000 for this program, which is 10%, and NZTA Waka Kotahi submitted or paid $179,000 for this project. So back in October, that report was presented to council. There's a whole lot of information in there saying that the Martinborough Community Board will be part of the government, part of the project. The first we heard about our role or about an officer's report was when the end of April, when an officer's report was on the agenda for the Martinborough Community Board, and it came across the table at the Martinborough Community Board. And by that stage, sure, a lot of consultation had occurred the workshops and the Facebook and the website campaigns, but nothing had come across the table of the Martinborough Community Boards at that stage.
I'll have to check the accuracy of that, but equally, I acknowledged we could have done that better. But again, the very first drop-in sessions that we ran on the session, I actually think every member of the Martinborough Community Board was present.
No.
It's myself and I.
Yeah, just myself and Nathan.
Yeah, no one from the council was here.
Yeah, no, yeah.
So.
Sorry, we missed that part. Can you go over that bit again?
So what I was saying is, I'm apologising, first of all. I'm saying we could have done that better in terms of the work with the Martinborough Community Board. We made an assumption because of the length of public participation that we're doing and the presence of members of the Martinborough Community Board in a number of those public events, that there was good understanding of what it was doing. And obviously we missed a trick, and I apologise for that. Excuse me, but I just want to be very clear about roles here. This is a council project. It is not a Martinborough Community Board project. And so we, the council is responsible for the delivery and ownership of this. And so, great. I really think it's great that you guys are hearing and responding and feeding back views of the community. But I would equally add, you need to be very careful about, excuse me, is there anyone here in this room who supports the Innovating Streets project? Okay, so,
I do support it, Harry, but the point I made comes right back to where we started. It's been handled badly and so much more could have been done with that money.
Yeah.
So-
And the council, or the board here have already made suggestions, which obviously have not been listened to. You stated before.
sorry,
that the
excuse me. I'm not going into debate. This is not a public meeting. It is a meeting in public. So I'd ask you to sit down and I will respond to some of these issues. Okay, so remember, in this context, there are people in this room who support this project. There are people outside of this room have given incredible feedback about how they consider this project to be useful, good and insightful, includes our school children who've been involved in this. So I am. So you've asked for a report on the progress of the Innovating Streets, and I'm providing this report. I'm just counselling you on the danger in listening to one side of an argument. There are equally as many people in the community who support this initiative, and so it's a matter of making sure that the information you receive is on balance, that reflects both sides of the story.
May I say something, Harry? And please, you know, I think it's great that the community board has had an apology here. Both Pam and I sit on the community board, but we are also council representatives for the Martinborough ward as well as the district at large. Last year at the Assets and Services meeting, Pam and I were chosen to be on the project management team and never even were invited to one meeting.
Okay, well, I didn't know that.
What I mean is that there was what I'm saying is that there was a whole process here where people from the Martinborough ward who have who listen, you know, and do have a good understanding of what's going on. You know, it's very difficult for me to sit here and say this, but it's a you know, it needs to just be out there that there was that misstep.
I need to check that. I don't know what. Can I
hang on, and I'm sorry.
I need to say that I have attended some things. I have been
I went to a workshop.
To the drop-in centres, and I have been to the consultation in the square, and I have been part of those things. I missed the initial 2 meetings that were held, and those were the ones that I missed.
It was the workshops.
That was just.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks, ma'am.
And I have been to the other things and taken part and talked to the community as they've come to talk about the bottom of school. We're in the square and asking for feedback and things like that. So I was there at that stage for part of the time. And
thanks, ma'am.
And I did attend a workshop where which is mentioned in there. And one of the things, I was at a workshop as well, and that day the chair of the Martinborough Community Board was with me as well. So
yeah, so I just want to say a couple of things. So you're saying that it's a council-led project.
Yep,
correct. I'm quite lucky to have a Martinborough star. What a bloody cute guy on the front. That might be me, but we're not going to talk about that too much. A quote from the mayor. The NZTA run Innovating Streets trial will begin shortly. Your mayor and councillors have not formally been involved in this project. So your funding application, it's flawed. Like you've got a project team, the internal champion is Mayor Alex Bayan. Yes, no. Governance, Harry Wilson. You haven't been involved in it, come on, you're taking it.
Well, Nathan, if I may respond.
It's a complete joke, that's what it is.
I think your attitude might be too here. Certainly on that application, and it was approved by council, to go through. Thereafter, it has been a publicly led and consulted project. We have, as councillors, have received regular updates on what's been going on.
Like Stuart said, the public was fully involved in it, yeah. Okay. The update you requested is on the progress of the Innovating Streets. And so I just reiterate, so the next stages, we put the works into place. We invite and welcome any feedback from people that can change or implement the design so we can tweak it to get a good understanding of where it works. I reiterate that after the period of time it is going to be removed. But I do also reiterate that doesn't make the problem go away. So part of this project was to trial different methods, because at the end of this trial, we need to consider where there are or need to be permanent solutions. So, and that's always been part of the trial. So it doesn't mean keeping the paintwork, keeping those types of things, we're using design engineering. So my question to you is, after you've spent all of this money, is there any money left to remove the paint, to remove the stuff that you put in there? There's money?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Because it's a bit strange, because I talked to the guys from the Buffer Maskell, and I had some real concerns about the wooden platforms. And funnily enough, we've had about 3 or 4 frosts lately. And you know what the frost does to a wooden surface? It makes it very slippery. It's a health and safety issue. They said to me that there wasn't any money left to put any type of covering on there to protect people from standing on that, like AstroTurf or some sort of covering.
Well, I mean, that's exactly the, I'll need to check that out, but I mean, that's exactly.
So the money's.
So there is money
allocated.
Yeah.
How is it, you've got no money to go back and take the paint off the road if that needs doing?
No, we haven't spent all the money. So we still, we still have money to actually tweak and do those types of ideas. But what I want to stress is the safety problem in the square is not going to go away. And so this is a means of trying to trial different things that don't require hard infrastructure spending. We get to trial different techniques that will improve, slow down traffic and improve the safety of our pedestrians and cyclists.
I would just like to say that Martinborough as a town, just recently we celebrated 150 years, and that's 120 years of the square also existing in its existence, and it's 120 years no crashes.
Is there a report available to the public that can see the concerns on safety?
So,
I think so hang on. Let's just, everyone please, because we still, I want to get to that. Please.
Yeah. Can I just add one?
Sure, just one more thing.
Can I just add one more thing to Harry and Alex? So we talk about getting the bikes to go around the square, and they're not going around the square at the moment because it's possibly deemed a safety issue. I think what should be more of a safety issue is the 70k speed zones outside Poppies, Luna, so Hungaroa, Puratonga roads, and people on bikes coming out of those vineyards, and you've got a 70k, if not faster, car coming along the road. That is a huge.
So Nathan, I totally agree with you. And I think there's a number of other speed issues right throughout our district. And so we are doing a speed review. We actually have 2 councillors on the committee that we're looking at this. So we are doing a full review of speeds across the entire district. So they will pick up exactly those concerns. Yeah. Thank you. And others. And unfortunately, the problem will be that like anything else you do, some people say just leave the speed as it is. Others will say change it. and would have to listen and on balance make correct decisions.
Through you, Chair, going back to what one of our earlier submitters commented on earlier on, Stuart Campbell, I'd like to pass a vote of no confidence in the consultation of the Innovating Streets project community board.
Yeah.
So I would like you to demonstrate actually what consultation we could, and given the report we provided to you about the extent of the consultation that we've done, I'd like you to, if you're doing that, it'd be useful to know what we could have done better.
No, I even said the consultation of the Innovating Streets with the community.
Oh, okay. Yep, I accept that. I apologise for that.
Councillors, the business association, they were supposed to be on here somewhere, engaged through business association.
Well, business association was the one that brought it to the community board.
But after that, there was no engagement from them, from the council to them.
As in the application form, as community champions, the Martinborough Business Association was listed as a community champion. The Martinborough Community Board was listed as a community champion, and nothing came across the Martinborough Community Board's table until the community board meeting at the end of April.
I think that's incorrect. I think on that sheet, on the 27th of Jan, the Business Association was informed of the project and its progress.
What day is that, sorry?
27th of Jan on that list. I'm just reading from the list because it's only compiled yesterday.
Their email for the 27th of January.
There was the business workshop on the 4th of Feb, which the community board, which the business association were invited to. I mean, I'm not justifying. I'm just saying, if you want to, let's get down to the nitty-gritty.
No, we can. Yeah, we could talk about the one that happened on Good Friday that Maskell supposedly turned up to, but they didn't. And then I emailed on Tuesday and was told they were too busy with the long-term plan.
So can I have a seconder then to pass a vote of no confidence in the consultation with the community? Thank you very much.
Right.
All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
All those against, please say no.
Yeah. I'm going to abstain too. Because this is from the community board.
Okay, so
Madam Chair,
yes.
I'd respectfully request, given that you've heard from a number of people who are against it, to be actively engaging with people who are for it. So the community board actually gets a representative or a view from the total community. I think that would be very useful for helping the community board understand the project.
So you're going to organise a meeting? What was that?
No, I'm just saying the same way the community board has listened to and heard from a number of people who are against the project. I think it's quite proper for the community board to invite people to speak to them who are actually in support of it. So you get a representative view of the community. Yeah.
Because it was put out to everybody who were for and against, like this meeting was put out to all of the Martinborough community. It wasn't in any way put out in a negative with a negative slant or anything. What that was said about come along to the community board meeting.
Do you feel this would be a safe environment for someone to speak up about on behalf of the project?
Absolutely, this is Martinborough.
Honestly, stand up and say, no,
No,
I don't
no.
know, it's a safe space. And I've been one of the people as part of, sorry, I put up to almost cry. So I've been one of the people today that people are actually screaming and accusing me when I'm actually just part of coming on board thinking actually as well that a lot of people work for it and I'm the art element. And sorry, because I can't not say anything there where I actually don't feel safe. In support of it.
Yeah.
Can I just actually make an observation? I actually wrote to the community board last night expressing my concern deliberate about members of the public have chosen to come up to our artist and people working on the project and intimidating them. And so those people have now felt unsafe in participating in this project, and some considering withdrawing simply because of the public, I'll call it bullying, because of their involvement with it. And I wrote to the chair of the community board last night expressing my extreme concern that members of the public are choosing to act in that way, and I requested leadership from the community board to make sure that our workers, our contractors and people involved in the project are safe.
It's very disappointing.
Yeah, that's really a lot. I'm really, really sad to hear that was happening, because that shouldn't be the case in any way, shape or form.
We've only, at the community board table, we've only been telling people the correct ways to engage with council.
So I just come back, I just reiterate my statement about a safe environment for people to talk about how they feel about the good side of the project. Because you just heard from someone who actually says they're not safe and they're feeling abused and bullied by members of the community. And I find that personally offensive and appalling.
Can I just say, Harry, because it's a council-led project, did you guys maybe think of putting something on social media to express or girls, you know, people abusing her? That isn't right. That's not right. But you know, it's your project. You guys should be putting something on some sort of media, Facebook, and telling people to go to the council if they have an issue and not go to the contractors.
Which we did in the test.
We have done. We also arranged a rotation of staff available. So if our staff, if the artist was working in the street, if someone did approach them, that the staff member could basically remove the nature of any threat or intimidation and hand out information.
Did that happen?
Yes. Okay. Yeah. Cool. And I was advised of that yesterday, and we've acted absolutely promptly.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
And
so regardless of the rights and
so did you.
Regardless of the rights and wrongs of the strength of feeling about the project, people should not feel that it's okay in any way to bully a staff employee or contractor because they feel strongly or principled about it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't find that acceptable.
No, absolutely. No one at this table. I'm sure feels the same. So, all right. So moving on then. Okay. We're now considering the minutes from the 27th of May, 2021. And are there any corrections to
Hanakura, didn't you ask for that to be moved forward?
Oh, sorry. No, I didn't. Okay. No.
Can we ask that it be moved forward just with people here?
Can I also please ask the Hanakura report please be spoken to?
Can it be moved forward on the agenda?
So we are going to now be talking on the Honeycomb Road update.
Yes. No, don't fear.
Okay. Right. Can we please, can I move that we receive the Honeycomb Road update? Thank you, Nathan. Can I have a second for that? Thank you, Ken. Okay, so the motion's carried. Now, so
Excuse me, folks, is the audience there, have you got a copy of the Hinakura, of the officer's report for the Hinakura? Is that handed out?
Okay. Is it just here?
I could see like here.
okay.
Oh, no, that's your one. Lazy.
Can I just show you guys like that diagram that I sent to quite a few of you of the slip itself? Like this details the work that needs to be done on it. And so this is what I did up in like bloody, I don't know, 20 minutes one morning. And it's with knowledge of the part of ground that it's on and things. And then you look at a report like this, and that's the sort of shit we get like from them, like the diagrams.
Do you want to just stay and have a listen to?
Sorry?
We're going to have a talk about this now, so
We're going to talk about the Hinakura Road
Yep.
now.
Yeah, okay, that'd be good, yeah.
And then I would like to.
Look, I'm sorry, I don't understand any of this meeting.
Yeah, no,
stuff.
you're doing great.
I just want action on our road, but and I do appreciate what you guys are doing. I don't understand who's the council or anything like that, and you just got to point out the facts. Like me standing up and talking before, I didn't want to have a clue what the stuff we should be doing, but you know, like.
you did a great job, and we're hang around because we're going to talk about it.
Yeah, but yeah, check that diagram out. And
it's amazing.
fucking eats anything that we've seen on our road. Like there's still not a digger up there or a bulldozer. I think just this diagram.
We'll have a chat afterwards, okay?
Yep. Yeah.
Right. Okay, are we able to get an officer's update?
Well, this is the update. I mean, you've got all the information for you that's current.
Oh, sorry.
So so I'll move that we receive the Hinakura Road update report.
Oh, no, we already have.
Oh,
So,
what's that?
can I preface this? So, this is not a slip. This is not a slump. So traditionally, there's in people's minds, a slip or a slump is a slope stability issue. So slope moves, falls on the road, tear it up, and it moves. This is a whole hillside moving under and above the road. This is an engineering issue that is extremely significant, and there are no easy solutions. If there were easy solutions, we would have done them. We implemented all the advice that we were given from our geotechnical experts on this. It is a dynamic and a moving situation. So the problems that you had 6 months ago are not the problems you now have. What happens with water, as anyone knows, water finds the path of least resistance, and the problem you channel water from one side of a hillside and it appears on the other side. So the problems that we had 12 months ago are not the problems we have today.
Rubbish. That's rubbish. Yeah, like, yeah. What is the issue? We're one rain away from that going down the fucking hillside.
That's we really need to just.
Damn, yeah, that needs to drain.
Actually, that's the problem. We are one step slip away from another change in the geomorphology around that area, and the road.
So your report will mean nothing tomorrow. That report you take weeks to year.
Madam Chair, I'm
Sorry.
struggling to actually provide a report. I'd like you to control the meeting, please. So I'm going to present the information without a whole lot of side commentary. please.
Yes, sure.
Okay, so this is a complex, dynamic situation that is changing and changing constantly. So the flows of water below, above and around this area are affecting different parts of the hillside, not the slope face. So I hate to use an example, but I will. This is exactly the same situation that occurred with the Manitou Gorge. So the Manitou Gorge, the only viable solution in the end is an alternative route, because you could not stabilise hillside movement. It is really hard to do. So it's not the face of it, it's everything that's sitting up behind is starting to move. Underneath and above the road, it's a whole hillside. Right? It's not a slope stability issue. This is hard. So we put in place the geotechnical advice that we were given, and we must accept our geotechnical experts and put in place the advice they give us. We've implemented those things. Their advice is to monitor and make sure we've got a full understanding of what exactly is going on in that dynamic situation. Okay? This is not weasel words for saying sit and wait. This is actually saying, if you're going to put a lot of money into this, make sure you do it once and you do it properly, looking at the whole problem. So part of the things we've been able to eliminate, for instance, is the dam. So there was a feeling that the dam on the hillside was a significant contributor because of its weight to creating the slope stability. We're now confident that is not the situation.
So the dam's still there?
The dam is still there. And it's a small dam and it's a house dam.
It's not the dam.
So what we're saying, so, a lot of people, we initially went to that place and said that could have been a contributing factor. So we started going down the line saying, what can we persuade the Greater Wellington Regional Council, et cetera. But now we understand it's actually not that, because the recent rain event triggered a whole lot of different factors that are going on. So, it is very easy, look, and first of all, no one likes trying to deal with these things. They're bloody hard, and I just feel so sorry for the people that are affected by this in terms of their transport and their farms. But if the hillside went, there is no road. There is no road. So we've got to do this properly, and we've got to do it based on good science, good evidence, and good geotechnical assessment, because that's what we have.
So how long are we talking about, roughly?
So, yeah.
So we've had the technical engineer site a few times, and we're getting the draft feedback really early next week.
And then,
which is different, since remember the geotechnical assessment we did and we fixed, the situation has changed from that. So the issue is now completely different.
So with the report that's coming in next week, you said that's also a draft. So what I'm asking is, how long are we looking at to get
the final report?
To get and fix them, if you like. So we won't know until we get the report.
What's this string?
Yeah.
We also need to get input, because this is actually also it needs consultation with the landlord as well. This isn't just a simple thing, it's not council land. So we need to engage the landlord as well. That's mentioned there. That too. And when we get the draft report, we need to get input as well from Greater Wellington land development team as well. And I don't want to put a time in it, but we'll certainly move into it.
Can I ask one question?
Yes, sir.
Harry and Ewan, are we actually, at the same time as we're looking at what we can do to fix this, if it's not fixable, are we also concurrently looking at how we can do an alternative route into that area for the landowners?
Actually, no, we're not doing that, but we should. I think that's a good idea. Mainly because we think we can, what we hope that we can fix it.
Obviously, that is the ideal situation to be able to fix it, but I think.
Plan A, not plan B.
Yeah. But then again, it all boils down to cost too.
Well, yes, it does, but it's a huge part of our community.
So what I meant was,
and it's their livelihoods that are at stake, as I'm sure you're well aware. And
sorry, what I meant was, sorry, I didn't mean the cost of investigating what we need to do to get an alternative route is something we can definitely do. But we might find the cost of the alternative routes, we just don't know. But we certainly can do that, yes.
But if this hillside's done this once, and it's a moving piece. If you liken it, I don't know whether I'm likening it to the right thing or not, but round Cape Palliser, where we've got the road subsiding around there, if you liken it to that, then this could happen again. And so a alternate route might be on firmer ground, so to speak, in layman's terms.
Absolutely.
It's an option. Yeah. Thank you.
I think a couple of the questions, well, this has been going on for 9 years. These guys have been struggling with this road. And I know that the landowner has been going to you guys with concerns about it, but these guys here, they've only just started getting communication 8 3/4 years later. It's poor.
Well, lessons learned, things we can do better.
What Don's done here in what he said, an hour's time, he knows that country. He's fixed land up the back there. He knows it's a part of the country. Yeah, you're right. It is moving. It will keep moving. But if you don't get rid of the water, you're going to create a bigger problem. So I'm glad the communication has actually started coming through to to our rural residents out there, but man, it's like it's too little too late.
I think we were talking about this yesterday at the Services Committee, and it was mentioned by Councillor Jetson. This has actually been going on for 40 years, not 9. And it's a constant ongoing problem, but certainly the report that I was seeing there, which is quite different to what we were thinking it was when I first became mayor and I saw it, where I thought it was a water reticulation issue and a weight on the slope. Well, we're talking half a kilometre of hillside coming down, and it's some posts and some anchors, hundreds of them still won't do that. It won't do. So this has been an eye-opener for me after I visited the site with a geotechnical engineer last year, and I've been up there a number of times looking at it, and I've spent 7 years in Christchurch looking at slope stabilisation, and I would run 1,000,000 miles from it. So it's not a simple.
Yeah, I know it's never going to be a simple fix, but like 9 years.
Just one of the other things that they've mentioned as well. So yes, the road's bad, but the other thing is the bridge, and not just that bridge, but the bridge at Ponatahi and the bridge Hinakura, both having had damage done to them and then that not being repaired.
That's not a.
What's the timeframe for that?
So the work for that scheduled, our problem is actually the materials. They're actually not available. So we actually don't have. So how long does it take to get this?
What are the materials that they're waiting on? Can I ask? What are the materials that you're waiting on?
The barriers. The barriers.
Because they were wooden barriers out there.
Yeah, and wood.
Yeah.
No, I think that's different.
Yeah.
I think we're talking bridge versus culvert. Yeah, different project.
It's concrete, yeah.
And your one out there is concrete. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm commenting about the Ponatahi Bridge.
Yeah.
So I have a question.
I'm just asking, those.
So the failure of the materials.
Sorry. I just want to ask.
There's none in New Zealand. I mean,
So there's none in New, so we just don't have a time frame at all on when we can expect it, or roughly?
It's when we get the materials. This is not a Martinborough problem. This is a national problem. So
nationwide.
Aluminium. What is it?
Aluminium areas. It's on trains in transit from Australia.
Yeah.
So
which is an aluminium.
Following the receipt of this report and also the eventual report, I have asked council officers to arrange a public meeting in Hinakura to put everything on the table, including timelines, including previous timelines and future timelines, and truly enter into a conversation of what could have gone wrong or what did go wrong, and what the remediation is going to be. So it's not just going to be an option. Yeah, and information.
Yeah. Can I just ask Alex, when that happens, are we able to, for the community board to be aware of that and to participate in that?
Yep, a council will know it, certainly, it'll be distributed, but it'll be publicly notified as well.
I'd just like to make it aware that on the 5th of November 2020, we had an action point at our meeting, 606, to give us a update on the slump issue. So, okay.
Can I just ask, sorry, just one other question. You and I think it was at yesterday's assets and the services meeting, but is it right, heavy traffic hopefully can go from?
Well, we're certainly looking to do that from next week, but the issue is obviously then the extra week is going to be active potentially on there. So it's something we're going to look at all with. We've got some the engineers and cycles, very relevant, are working engineers. We're certainly hoping to open up for traffic, but we need to be very careful. Last thing we want is for it to something different.
Yeah. And from the sounds of things, businesses are worried about that. You know, they're not sending their trucks, like that was what.
Doesn't mean you're moving from a 2.5 ton light vehicle to 46 tons. You know, that's that's the weight difference we're talking about here. So that's why a general access heavy vehicle is 46.5 tons. So, you know, but there's variations on it. I mean, I should have been, if we can get tankers, for instance, that aren't anywhere near that, we might be able to do that kind of thing. So say applies to tankers, fuel, and that type of stuff out. So it would, so it's not just heavy vehicles, it's different classes of heavy tier weights.
So I was just going to say, like, you know, the little bridges out and around the place, that they have different tier weights that you can't go over them.
Yeah.
Then it can help.
So, does anyone else have any other questions?
I mean, you know,
within the next few years, it'll be 20 trucks a day going on that road.
Within the next 20
trucks per day.
The
next 2 years.
I'm not sure, probably 2.
Kaikoura. Yeah.
So is that logging trucks?
Logging trucks have Kaikoura.
Yeah, they're probably 60 ton.
Yeah,
yes, especially they've got 3 trailers.
Urgent.
Oh,
That's a great idea. Yeah.
Okay, so moving on now. So we are now considering the minutes from our 27 May 2021 meeting. Are there any corrections to the minutes? Okay. Oh, so the minutes be received. Record of the minutes. Thank you, Pam. So do I have a seconder?
yeah, I'll second that.
No, thank you, Pam. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
All those against, please say no. Motion is carried. Okay. If I could just make one comment, though, just on those minutes. Some of the actions, we've got quite a bit of traction from Katrina, sent out the, you know, information about the pain farm and then around the funds reimbursement and
yes, it was fantastic.
it was really great. We've got some really quick results from our last meeting.
Yeah, so thank you to
Really
the
appreciate
officers.
that. Thank you everyone for that. Okay. And so now we move on to the action items report. pages 6 to 11. Do I have a mover to receive the report? Thank you, Aidan. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Pam. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. All those against, please say no. And the motion is carried.
It's so hard to see this.
A comment, Madam Chair. It's quite interesting to see 726 there with regards to a rating manager attending a community board meeting, which is something we discussed just earlier. But certainly now that the long-term plan has been passed and funds have now been allocated, it's timely to have someone talk about the rating, but
I think it's great.
but unfortunately there is an illness there which might preclude it from happening immediately.
If it can't happen immediately, can so I see or any come, because I think it's pretty crucial to hear.
So just if we could just adjust the action item, if you want to say that the invitation is extended for the next community board meeting, someone to talk to roading, not necessarily the
From roading.
So just Ewan, just action item 293 around the lessons learned from the Waihina Centre project. How's it?
We've got a draft report that's been completed. We've got a draft report and a full description.
Okay.
Is there a time frame on how far away that may be?
Draft to us.
Not right now, to be honest, but we got the draft report last week, back in the last week. So we're aware there's been other things to do with it.
Okay. Could we expect to see it at our next community board meeting?
6
weeks. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, brilliant.
That's great, thanks.
Thank you.
I've got an update on the sign that was cut.
Ooh. Oh, you don't know.
I think you got an email, but Andy Shaw, a local graphic designer, approached me and said he was keen to do some sketches and make a bit of a draft up. Martinborough Automotive have kindly agreed to pay his drafting costs, and then he will forward them to the community. See what he's got. He would like to make these and get like all the lay of the land.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, no. That sounds like a good next step.
Yeah. It's been going on for a little while, so good to get it done before.
Will you forward that to me, mate?
Years up. Sorry.
You sent it a couple of days ago, 3 days ago? Yeah. It's there. Yeah.
I can't find it. No, probably last week.
It's a picture of what was there in the past and what was it look like.
No.
Okay.
I haven't got that.
Madam Chair, if I could comment on 497. The long-term plan, you may have seen that a consultation has been agreed with the Māori Standing Committee regarding the entrances to the towns and money allocated to them.
What's that?
So again?
Sorry.
Item number 497, talking about Martinborough town entrance.
Yeah.
But there's been money allocated in the long-term plan working with the holding standing committee to just investigate this over the next 2 years.
Oh, yeah, so that you don't have 14 signs. That was the, no, that's what she said, that's right. That's right. Having 14 different signs with Rotary and that was the whole conversation, wasn't it? Yeah.
Anyone have any questions or updates? Recognition?
That's one. Right. What are you looking at? No?
Oh, sorry, I was looking at 190.
On the action.
Yeah. Those
So
considerations.
Yeah. Perhaps can we update on one to say that we presented it at Asset and Services Committee? And that is now on the radar. So 190 areas.
Well, that's, yeah, that's that.
Yeah.
Safety. That's so those on roundabout.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, so there's 30 to 40 words per.
Really? Where's?
Yeah, that's not so.
Okay.
50K, yeah.
All right. That's.
Okay, so we'll move on then to the income and expenditure report, which is pages 12 to 19. Do I have a mover to receive the income and expenditure statement for 1 July 2020 to 31 May 2021? Pam, and do I have a seconder? Thank you, Aidan. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. All those against, please say no. Motion is carried.
So it gets refreshed.
Did anyone have it? Granted, that was supposed to be granted.
Oh, this is.
Which one?
3 under developments.
Yes, on the 13th of 12th. Yeah. Yeah.
I'll probably break it.
Okay. Okay. No, it's perfect. No, we'll just, sorry.
Just wondering, back in August last year, the contribution for a water tank to the Martinborough, because it was the Martinborough Community Garden, they're still wanting, or what? I thought that was.
No, that was supposed to be put back in.
Oh, was it that they've declined it because they couldn't get access to the water?
Yeah, from within that year's funding. It doesn't mean that we won't look at it, self-assisting.
We could have arranged to fill it for them, you know, as a storage unit, even for some reason, if it wasn't attached to a roof.
So I think.
Well,
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
their land that they're on, so.
And that was it, wasn't it? So they
That's the
wanted
main thing.
us to look
That's
at
what
a
they
different,
needed.
they needed, that's right.
Bryce was going to come to us with some options,
See what we might be able to.
for the potential homes or locations for the. Yeah.
Just for a
Couple of
while,
days.
in case they
Couple of
come
days.
up with a home and then we've got it allocated and they don't have to apply.
It does give you 1,000 for this year, given we've got new budgets
Yeah.
very soon. But there hasn't been any calls out this.
Council flats, yeah.
Meeting.
That's what I reckon. No, that's,
For funding, so you must.
I think what they were looking was that, was at Venice Street, but they were just worried about the, on Regent Street, but they were worried about so they were going to look at a shed, is that right? So somewhere, so that way, no, not Constantine Park, on Regent by the flats. Yeah.
No,
and
no, no. It was, I think.
But they were worried about their tools. Yeah, so they were looking at a shed.
No, that space got taken off the table because potentially, out by council, because potentially they may want to use that land
build
for
more
more flats.
But we've got to look at
So that's what
the
we're
conditions around the gifting by Cicely Martin of the land and the permitted use.
Right,
of it.
okay.
Is that good?
Yeah.
And it's getting late and I
So
think
that
like.
makes sense.
It's been a long day.
So sorry.
I mean,
One thing, Steve, could you tell me? Is it July? What applications for this for around the company?
For August.
Yeah, so the application is always available there on the website, but the applications will come to your office. So I don't think this is how much of our money we want to put in each.
it's in the chairs. She's report. So then, yeah, because there was that.
But you just said in your chair's report, you just said that there was, that we were going to do the round of funding, but you didn't actually say how much money you were going to.
Oh, sorry, half the available.
Yeah, that's what it says.
So are you not going to keep any aside for doing a project by the community board itself?
Not from that.
Not from the grant funding, from beautification funds.
But, yeah.
So then you're limiting yourself to what you're going to be able to do with the money if you're only going to use the beautification money on its own. Because there are restrictions around what you can do with beautification.
So what do you think?
So what? Well, I think it's something for the board to decide as a whole. I'm just throwing ideas out there. But we will need to say how much we want to do for grants before step.
Yes, no, exactly.
And if you're going to use half of your money, then you need to specify that.
If I could suggest that if you look at the multi-standing committee model they've used from a budgeting on the types of grants they're going to give out under different categories, it just seemed a nice direction rather than, we had a case with the Great Campbell where they're going, oh, we've actually run out, and there are worthy projects that are coming through. So it did give a bit of perspective on, so you budgeted for what you were going to spend under different PO. It was very cool, actually, the way they did it.
So that's a great idea. Yeah, what do you think?
Good idea.
I mean, I'm worried about time.
Yeah.
And then we're looking at doing 2 rounds, in August and February.
And half the available grants fund will be made available in each of the 2 rounds, with any unspent funds from the August round being made available in the February round.
So,
but from what I'm hearing, you think maybe, what if there's anything unspent, it just stays?
No, what I was saying is instead of using all of the grant money to give out as grants, that the community board look at a project that they want to do themselves within the town and then keep some of that grant money, or some of our, it's not grant money, but some of our allocation of funds for our own project, and then only give out a percentage of that money available as grants, so that you can actually see something. So whether it be the sign up at Pitbull's coming that you want to fund, or whether it be something else, and a nice sign for coming into town, or whatever, then there is, you have got money to be able to do that. Whereas if you give it all out in grants, then you've got nothing to do with your own.
The thing is that those ones that mention beautification funds, and you every community board traditionally underspends its beautification. There's always a, so perhaps you should do it just for the beautification fund.
Well, that's right. I was only giving them as an example of projects. So there's other projects that the community board might like to be involved in, that they need to consider before they work out the allocation of their funding.
Much like we do with agreement funding.
Yeah.
Well, I think one of the things we were all in agreement about with the grant funding was that since it's available for the community, and we did have those community, groups that were looking, so yeah, to use the full amount
for grant funding and okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that makes sense.
That was
all right.
And then we should.
Okay.
You don't have it filtered. So okay. So I think then is that recommendation sent as is for the recommendation for the community board to agree to hold the grant funding rounds biannually in August and February, with half of the available grant funds to be made available in each of the 2 rounds, and any unspent funds from the August round being made available in the February round. Okay, yeah, I move that.
Yeah, I.
So all those in favour, please say aye.
Aye. And then I was just going to say, and then if you wanted to, you can have a look at a multi-standing committee report just to see the full part and see if they, that's something similar fits in with the grant funding on how you basically.
You don't need to risk.
No. I'm just saying, putting it out there for the rest of the community board.
Of Stella.
Yeah.
So.
No, they wouldn't be able to get into multi-standing.
Opposed to the meeting.
So all those in favour say aye.
Aye.
All those against, please say no. Okay, so the motion is carried. Okay, so I'm going to start just with the community engagement. Just to let you guys know, the drop-in session that we had on the 5th of June, got the areas there from our community and the things that were discussed with us when we were there, and then at our drop-in on the 3rd of July, which was also quite well attended, the 2 overarching issues because of when it fell was Honeycomb and Burrow Road and and the debate of streets. So there hasn't been any additional things to be added in there.
Could I ask about topic 5, please? In your
report? Sure.
you've asked council to look at, investigate purchasing barbecues for coastal reserves. How are you thinking of paying for those barbecues? Considering you just allocated all the funding for grants.
Well, because so in those coastal areas,
I thought it was grant funding. I'm getting really confused. I thought that sits under grant funding. Is that?
Sorry?
I'm just getting a bit confused because I thought it's grant allocation, so I didn't.
But it's, so are you asking, so are we asking officers to investigate purchasing the barbecues and then asking the communities to submit applications for through the funding round to pay for those?
No.
Why are we asking?
So this was actually looking from Jenny's meeting with us last time. Was
But where would the money come from?
Yeah, where's the money going to come
To
from?
purchase them?
What we're wanting to find out is the cost. So before we look at doing anything or spending any money, what we would like to know is
how much it would be.
But well, because it's also about what's going to fit in each space of what they will be able to use. Is it gas? Is it electric? You know, like what exactly is going to fuel the engine in the areas. So the first things that we would like to know is what's practical options out there and how much does that cost?
Bryce will know that because within councils, they're quite common.
Yeah. What I'm trying to say is.
But where does it come from?
Yeah, where does the money come? If we're going to fund these things for our rural community because we feel that that's something we would like to do for our rural communities, then we.
A couple of things. One is find out whether there's budget from Bryce from under the amenity. The second one would be to look at council grants. The third one would be to see whether it fits within the criteria of your beautification fund.
Yeah, that's what we.
In which case you did have a surplus.
We just had to find out whether they came out of.
We literally thought it was literally about avoiding something throughout for those. Yeah.
Because and I noticed because it's not just tourists, it came out from there, but it's actually just saying about coastal barbecue options. So yeah, it could be that something like
but even the break at Naui, that's where everyone camps.
Yeah,
you know.
that's what I mean. We've got one. We've just said we'd like to know how much it costs first before we go ahead and allocate money.
Yeah, we don't want to put a guest barbecue out there and then
4,000 to 5,000 excluded.
The guest keeps going up there.
And the installation would be a couple of, you've got a concrete pad.
Yeah.
You've got maintenance of them.
Maintenance, but no one vandalizes them.
Put it outside Jeppy's house. Make sure. Make sure no one vandalizes it.
So was that okay? Yeah. Yeah.
So let's agree on that.
Also, so that's from.
So you're gonna work with.
Yes, to work with council officers to investigate purchasing.
To nominate one.
Okay, Nathan. With council. Did anyone have any questions around?
So the payment for the flags?
Oh, so now the invoice for the Martinborough flag, you'll notice this is actually a lot less than what we originally had agreed to pay for them. So Bernie has actually been back to me and that's light. And in the meantime, because I've sent it off to finance. And so he's been paid from the original invoice.
Which is this one?
Yes. And then the next invoice, that comes up to what we had already agreed to pay for today.
Yeah. Yeah, I was like, wow.
Yeah, no, I had to add on those two extra stars for us.
Yeah.
So certainly driving through Gratian, I mean, Gratian put their Martinborough flags up. Might have just one sign, whereas we've got more than one design, so it's looking, Martinborough's looking quite good compared to.
That looks beautiful, honestly, they're really nice. They're great, you know, the flags that we were presented with that we were able to get for Anzac, beautiful. You know, there's a real shift.
I had Al. Always had Al.
I'm a big guy, I'm not a little guy.
Okay, just at the end of here as well, there was just the correspondence that we received right before our last meeting from Joe Kelly with the police.
It's not attached.
Yeah, it is attached to the start now. Yeah.
Oh, it's now.
I did it just at the last, didn't you?
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
That was there before.
So I spoke with Constable Kelly the other day, and she ascended on the basis of that letter, that on the meeting that she had with members of the community on the 12th of May, native attended, now attended, and there was members of the community attending as well. She's covered, and Mira attended as well.
Yeah.
She's going to be putting out invitations for another meeting, a similar meeting, community meeting next Wednesday. She's in the process of doing it, but she also advised me at the same time that in 2 months' time, her position has been disestablished. So all the community police, community constables working in the South Wairarapa that were established a couple of years ago will be disestablished in 2 months' time. So I know that she's put in a lot of work into our community. She's built up a lot of networks, and this letter that she sent to us, hopefully we can move things forward in spite of the fact that in 2 months' time she'll be no longer be a community constable working within Martinborough.
So what will Martinborough have?
I understand it.
If I can comment on that. So I also heard this immediately called the area commander and asked what was going on. That is a possibility, but it is not confirmed, but we usually know the way this goes. It's to do with central government reducing funding and moving them into road policing in bigger centres. And the reality is that our police numbers in the Wairarapa are reducing. At this point, we'll not be getting any recruits, is what he said. So it's still in motion. So since then, I said, okay, well, what can we do as a community to ensure that this doesn't happen? And I will be talking to the district commander, Corey Purnell, and the Minister of Police, if necessary, to see if we can, before the decision is made, see if we can change that. So I was just very lucky that I managed to catch up on a comment that someone had made, and was able to contact Scotland. So.
I think something else as well. I mean, even just in the South Wairarapa, if there was an accident out at Tora or White Rock, and at the same time at Ocean Beach, you know, it doesn't actually take much. We know we're already in such a hard situation. We're very vulnerable. Yeah, but that's just one example of how big our area is and how we already felt the impact of having reduced policing.
I'll certainly keep you on the loop of what's before anything's been decided, what those conversations are. But yeah, I only heard about this. This was yesterday that I heard about it.
We knew it was just gonna, sometimes it's easier to send someone from Wellington than it is to send someone from Masterton.
So the constables have been told that their positions here in the South Warwick as community constables will finish in 2 months' time at the end of September, and they will be going back onto 24-hour policing roster based out of Masterton. And the current community policing section, which is run by a sergeant and I think 6 constables, will be going from sergeant, 6 constables down to a sergeant and 1 constable, with 1 constable FEO part-time.
But hectic.
That's sad. We go down fighting. Go down fighting.
Absolutely. That's a huge blow, sorry, that's just.
Yes, I'm just, yeah.
I'm just gutted because of all the assurances we received 2 years ago at public meetings, and then it took them 6 months to enact what they said they were going to do, and then 18 months later, they've taken it away again.
Well, sorry, part of Joe's information around the privacy and CCTV and whether or not it was even going to be is something, within that we could look at. Was originally, I think you'll see from her email, she had thought that it might be a way for the happy to have monitors for both Martinborough Greytown and the Carterton Police Station. But I guess if we're not going to go that.
Well, I think we could.
See what Joe says.
Yeah, well, I'm going to
meeting's
next
going
week.
to be occurring next week.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, I've given my apologies for that meeting. I can't be there. I think,
LGNZ conference?
Yeah, I think,
LGNZ.
I think another, that's right, Penny, you did.
Yes.
Sorry, I've just missed a step here. Can I please have a mover to receive the inward correspondence? Thank you, Hayden. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Nathan. All those in favour, please say aye. All those against, please say no. The motion is carried. Thank you.
I'm against the removal.
But I do think it's probably, this is good information for us to have, and just to hang on to it.
And we've got locally.
Because we don't know what's going to happen. We know the issue we had in Martinborough last time was specific to the school holidays. So
that's coming up next.
And now the school holidays is tomorrow at 3 o'clock. So I'm going to the meeting with Joe. I actually talked to Joe yesterday, and yeah, I'm attending that meeting as well over at the fire station. So yeah, we can give an update. Okay, well, thank you, everyone. No further business. I declare the meeting is now closed.
Okay, thank you.
And just as a quick little note then, I think the Remuneration Authority has given you a 1.5% increase, which means Alex gets an extra 75 cents.